Hey, I can tell from this title, the Piggy Palace Massacre. I can tell from this thumbnail, dog. Yes, that looks hella crazy. I can tell from the length of this video. This video is only 13 minutes and 22 seconds. You know I'm about to make it 30 minutes. Stop playing. Pete, I can legit tell this video is about to be deadly as shit. It's about to be like over and done, right? I could be wrong though. Once you got the original video, link will be in the description below. But let's go.
If you have heard of Piggy Palace, the focus of today's story, then you know how horrific this story is. If you've never heard of Piggy Palace, well, viewer discretion is advised. But before we get into today's story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload 3 or 4 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please set the like button up for a practice sales call with William M. Buttlicker. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. All right, let's get into today's story.
I already knew this one was about to be hella crazy.
Robert Picton was born in 1949 in Port Coquitlam in British Columbia, which is about 15 miles to the east of Vancouver. He, along with his brother and sister, were raised by their parents on a big pig farm. In the 1970s, their parents passed away, and so the property was handed down to them. Robert and his brother took over the daily operations of the farm, and their sister decided to just move away. Over the next couple of decades, Robert and his brother attempted to run the pig farm, but pretty quickly they stopped taking care of it, and it fell into decline. Neighbors and visitors recalled seeing the pigs that were still there free roaming the property. And as for the brothers, it appeared they had just stopped bathing, and despite walking all day in mud and pig feces, it seemed like they never took off their boots when they went inside. One of the few farm workers that stayed with the Pictons through the farm's decline was a guy by the name of Bill Hiscox, and he said the farm was a really creepy place. And he also said Robert was a really creepy guy that was prone to just totally bizarre behavior.
They look like a junkyard, dog.
Said Robert was a really creepy guy that was prone to just totally bizarre behavior, even though he didn't smoke or drink or use any substances. Eventually, the Picton brothers realized they were not cut out to run the pig farm like their family had for generations before them, and they decided their best move was just to sell portions of their land. But neither of them could have guessed just how much their land was worth. From 1994 to 1995, they managed to sell off almost all of their property to an urban developer for over $5 million. And so suddenly, these filthy, failed pig farmers had become millionaires, and neither of them knew.
Do the sister still get her cut, though? Even though she dipped? $5 million? For something like that, though, that's a good value, though, right? I don't know.
Suddenly, these filthy, failed pig farmers had become millionaires, and neither of them knew what to do with the money. After a year of just sitting on the money and not doing much with it, they decided they wanted to do some good with their money. And so they established an official charity in 1996 called the Piggy Palace Good Times Society. Their charity's purpose, at least on paper, was to help raise money for various organizations that they deemed worthy by running events like dances and shows. And while that might have been their original intention for this charity, what it ultimately became was a guise to host these wild drug and alcohol-fueled parties inside of their slaughterhouse, which, even though it wasn't being used anymore because they were no longer really doing any pig farming, it still conspicuously had big hooks coming down from the ceiling and bloodstains all over the ground underneath them. These Piggy Palace parties became infamous in Coquitlam, drawing crowds of up to 2,000 people, predominantly bikers, drug addicts, and prostitutes from the poverty-stricken downtown east side of Vancouver. Robert had become familiar with that part of Vancouver because he used to go through there all the time to dispose of animal waste products at their rendering plant. Once the Piggy Palace charity was in full swing, Robert started going back into that neighborhood where he would cruise down the 10-block strip called the Load Track and would attempt to recruit people to come to his parties. Most of the people
boy, it sound like a cult. I knew from the name it sounded like a cult.
Called the Load Track and would attempt to recruit people to come to his parties. Most of the people he recruited were down on their luck women who only agreed to go because he was offering them food and money and drugs and alcohol. At the same time Robert was running this recruiting campaign, women from the downtown east side began disappearing in droves. These disappearances were noticed by the men and women in the downtown east side, but they didn't report them because they had a general distrust of the police and of authority figures in general. But as more and more and more women disappeared from the downtown east side, rumors of a serial killer operating in that area started to circulate. Residents began only going outside if they could walk around in a big group of people, and everybody was just totally on edge, keeping careful lookout for anything odd about the neighborhood, people that shouldn't be there, cars that shouldn't be there. But despite this heightened security, women continued to go missing at a rapid rate, and nobody knew why. When the police were finally contacted about all these missing women, their response was lacking, to say the least. Since there were no bodies of these missing women, the police said it was reasonable to assume that the women were to blame, that their lifestyles must have caught up with them and they either ran off somewhere or perhaps they overdosed somewhere and their bodies just haven't been found yet. Despite residents of the downtown east side saying no.
Hold on, I gotta go get the door real quick. But before I go, let me tell you, you know what's crazy though? I already knew the police wasn't gonna jump because I'm just keeping it 100 with you. In most cases, some just gonna treat you like ish just because. But look, in most cases, people are going to value and treat your life at the same level the way they're going to value your life at the same level that you value your life. We hear it. They're junkies, prostitutes, whatever. People that's down on their luck at the end, whatever. So the police is like, whatever. These are not important people. That's what they're really saying. They're not about to go look for these people just because they're missing. Because let's be real, let's be honest. It's not like they don't have a reason to think this. If you're living this lifestyle, then this is how they know it. How to know to play it. These people come up missing, pop up again over and over all the time. Had a few of my family, bro. So they're not going to jump up to go looking for these people who don't really value their own life. It's not. Bro, look, you live in this world the way I live in this world. You hear it in this story. I'm sorry, because you know if that was some rich woman living in the hills, she was missing. Boy, they on the case. You know that. I'm not. Shit. Let me look at the door. Hold up. My bad. Look, welcome to reality. It's crazy. Get back to the story though. My bad. This is about to be a crazy video. I already know.
There were no bodies of these missing women. The police said it was reasonable to assume that the women were to blame, that their lifestyles must have caught up with them and they either ran off somewhere or perhaps they overdosed somewhere and their bodies just haven't been found yet. Despite residents of the downtown east side saying, no, this is different, there's something wrong here, the police basically said, we're not getting involved. When the newspapers found out about this totally apathetic response from the police, they criticized them for intentionally deprioritizing these missing women because the majority of them were drug addicts and prostitutes, and so therefore weren't worthy of a full investigation. The police rejected this claim. On the evening.
Oh, what I'm thinking at this point though, because is it a small town? I forgot that part. What if they working?
So therefore weren't worthy of a full investigation. The police rejected this claim. On the evening of March 22nd, 1997, so 1 year after the Piggy Palace had been stood up and they started throwing all these parties, and 1 year after dozens of women have gone missing from the downtown east side, the Picton's neighbor heard a frantic knock on their front door. They ran over, they opened it up, and what they saw was this woman who was hunched over with one hand on her bleeding stomach, and dangling from her wrist was a handcuff. The neighbor was obviously shocked at what they were seeing, but they quickly ushered the woman in and they called her an ambulance. The woman was rushed to the hospital where she immediately was put into emergency surgery. Afterwards, while she was in recovery, she told her nurses that her name was Wendy and she had been at one of those Piggy Palace parties, and one of the owners of the farm, Robert Picton, had tried to put a handcuff on her, and when he did, she fought back. He drew a knife, he stabbed her in the stomach, she was able to get the knife back, she stabbed him in the face before turning and running out.
You had the ups on her, put the handcuffs on her. She, get up off me. You came at her with the knife, stabbed her. She still got the. Oh, stop playing. I love stories like this when they be like you tried it, but you're weak.
She was able to get the knife back. She stabbed him in the face before turning and running out the door and making it to the neighbor's house. Right after she told this story, Robert Picton actually showed up at the exact same hospital with a serious laceration on his face that was consistent with being stabbed. The medical staff had already called.
I thought he popped up there to finish the job. Okay, I was like, damn.
serious laceration on his face that was consistent with being stabbed. The medical staff had already called the police, who showed up minutes later, and when they went inside, they searched Robert and they found in one of his pockets a handcuff key. And that handcuff key opened the handcuff that was still on Wendy's wrist. And so when the police saw that, they arrested Robert on attempted murder. While Robert was in custody, he explained to officers that Wendy was lying. She was a drug addict, and she had come to one of their Piggy Palace parties, and he had caught her trying to rob them. He had confronted her, she drew a knife, and that's when a struggle ensued.
And you know what's crazy? The reason why that could be believable is I don't know, maybe she's not one of those. Maybe she was just someone who enjoyed partying and ended up there. Hopefully that's the case. But if not, if she is one of those junkies, if she is one of those prostitutes, we heard what he was recruiting for this party. Don't play with me. If she's one of them, it wouldn't be hard for him to flip the story. But I hate when I get to whispering like this when we get to really talking. My bad. But it wouldn't be hard for him to flip this on her. Like, hell no, that's cap. She doing all these drugs, coming to our parties and everything. Woo, woo, coming there trying with the handcuff. See? And most people, they can be like, well, hold up. You are one of those. So they will be like, all right, let's hear this.
That Wendy was lying. She was a drug addict, and she had come to one of their Piggy Palace parties, and he had caught her trying to rob them. He had confronted her, she drew a knife, and that's when a struggle ensued, and both of them got stabbed, and Robert said he was just lucky to be alive. The police believed him and dropped all of his charges and let him go. When Robert got back to the farm, Bill Hiscox, the one worker who still worked for the Pictons, he grew very suspicious of Robert. He had read all about the missing women from the downtown east side, and he knew Robert regularly went over there to pick up women and brought them back to his parties. And Bill just always had that gut feeling that something was off about Robert. And so he sat on this gut feeling for a couple of months until finally he decided he had to tell someone. And so he called the Crime Stoppers tip line, and he told them that he thought Robert had actually attacked Wendy, not the other way around, and that actually Robert was most likely behind some or all of these missing women from the downtown.
And if you don't know that for sure, and he get off, and he know you called them boys, and you his neighbor, that if you feel like your neighbor is a serial killer, you really got to make sure you got everything. What they say, all your ducks in order. Is that the right place people use that? Boom. Because if turn out tomorrow you see him out cutting the grass. Oh shit! I caught the cops. Hey, but look, at the end, I gotta tell y'all this story, though. I caught the neighbors. I caught the cops with my neighbors once in Arizona. I'm gonna tell y'all at the end.
Finally, he decided he had to tell someone. And so he called the Crime Stoppers tip line, and he told them that he thought Robert had actually attacked Wendy, not the other way around, and that actually Robert was most likely behind some or all of these missing women from the downtown east side. Bill also said that a recent female party guest at the farm had seen a pile of women's clothing inside of Robert's trailer, along with at least 10 purses and women's ID cards. The police,
and that would explain why them cars are exhausted. It's like a junkyard.
Robert's trailer, along with at least 10 purses and women's ID cards. The police followed up with Lisa to confirm what she saw, but she was scared of Robert and said she wasn't going to cooperate. And so the police, without this testimony, were unable to secure a search warrant to investigate this further, and so they kind of just forgot about it and moved on to other cases. Over the next few years, the Pictons continued to throw these huge Piggy Palace parties until the city finally shut them down, and dozens more women disappeared from the downtown east side without a significant police investigation, despite the fact that Bill was calling them all the time to say he believed Robert Picton was behind all of these disappearances, but they weren't taking him seriously. Finally, in 2002, a former employee of the Picton farm came forward to police and said that he personally had seen illegal weapons inside of Robert's trailer. And this was enough information for the police to get a search warrant and raid the pig farm. And in February of that year, they did just that. And they found inside of Robert's trailer the illegal guns, as well as several items directly connected to some of the missing women from the downtown east side. Robert was arrested but let out on bail. He was put under surveillance and told he could not go back to the farm until they were done conducting a more thorough search. And during that more thorough search, they found blood from one of the missing women inside of Robert's trailer. And so Robert was rearrested and charged with murder. While he was being held in jail, he shared his cell with another man who he believed was just another detainee. But he wasn't a detainee, he was actually an undercover police officer, and their entire interaction was being recorded.
They got you with the old okie doke. Stop playing with me, boy.
He was actually an undercover police officer, and their entire interaction was being recorded. And on this recording, Robert makes a few shocking statements.
Are we gonna hear it?
Where you got it? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay, I know what's up. You got a missing person. We better fucking how you made it. I thought the best way to dispose of something was to take it in the ocean. Any better than that? Yeah? No. That's got it. Pretty good. Okay? Can't be much left.
Damn!
You're dead better than 10 minutes.
Hey, bro said he was trying to do one more 50, and bro, no, what? He was not gonna stop at 50. That is hella crazy, dog.
Bigger than months in space. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is already about 42.
As Robert admits in this video, he killed 49 people, who would turn out to be the majority of the missing women from the downtown east side. After a lengthy investigation, it was determined Robert's killing spree began in 1991, but it really kicked up a notch in 1996 when he and his brother started Piggy Palace, because he was able to use their huge parties to lure more victims to his farm faster. And once they were at his farm, he would lure them into his trailer, where he would handcuff them, tell them it's over now, and he would inject antifreeze into them, or he would strangle them to death. Afterwards, he would move the victim's body to the slaughterhouse, where he would butcher them like a pig. A large portion of his victims' remains would be fed to his pigs, and the parts he didn't feed to his pigs, he would bring to the rendering plant in the downtown east side, which is not far from where the victim was most likely picked up. A rendering plant takes animal waste products, crushes them up, and turns them into a gelatin. This gelatin is used in many everyday products, from candy to...
I used to always see those videos about how they make, because I used to love gummy candies, and I used to always see, like, yeah, they make these out of the animal parts, they gel up or whatever. I don't know the exact process, but they like legit used to do that or do that. I ain't gonna count though. Gummy worms hit, dog. I just want some right now, man. I haven't eaten no gummies in so long because of when I heard that too, which is crazy. Damn. It must do sound good right now.
A rendering plant takes animal waste products, crushes them up, and turns them into a gelatin. This gelatin is used in many everyday products, from candy to cosmetics, which means Robert's victims wound up in things like lipstick and gummy bears. Also, sometimes while Robert was going through this horrific disposal process, he would set aside some of the best cuts of meat and grind them up with pork and turn them into sausage. This sausage was served at Piggy Palace parties. It was also given to neighbors and food banks and
as your neighbor, I wouldn't have ate it because I don't eat shit. My neighbors give me food. I ain't gonna cap to you. That's crazy. You at the party. Dancing on the whole, eating the motherfucking people hot dog. Bro, I used to eat a lot of fast food, and I ain't gonna cap. I was cool with hella people, so I used to always just eat at hella people's house. I don't really do that no more. But through my lifetime, I be wondering, like, I wonder how much spit have I actually eaten. I wonder how many human parts have I eaten and don't even know it. How many times I ate something I thought was something was like, nah, bro, you don't know what that is. I be thinking about stuff like that, like, man, because is that all three of those I guarantee are possibly happen.
Robert's victims wound up in things like lipstick and gummy bears. Also, sometimes while Robert was going through this horrific disposal process, he would set aside some of the best cuts of meat and grind them up with pork and turn them into sausage. This sausage was served at Piggy Palace parties. It was also given to neighbors and food banks and orphanages. After sifting through 300,000 cubic meters of soil and pig feces underneath the Picton farm, investigators were only ever able to find little bits of remains of 26 women. Robert was charged with all 26 murders, but only 6 turned into convictions due to a lack of evidence. He was sentenced to life in prison and is still alive today. His brother and sister were never charged in connection with the crimes. So that's gonna do it, guys. If you found the secret in today's episode, let us know in the—
So, and I was thinking that, like, what if whole time his brother was legit, like, enjoying Piggy Palace, throwing parties, and the other brother was one in, like, just only doing it. I was thinking like that, because I mean, I don't know the full story, so I don't want to just start throwing people in that mug. But I don't know. That's a lot of people come up missing, bro. Like, damn, whole time having these parties, and bro got this whole room where he just doing this with 49 people. Man, so I take it this story was like popular or something at one point, because the way you opened it up, talk about basically you might have heard the story. I take it as one of those stories that was popular at one point or something. I don't know, whatever. I've never heard it. I never even heard of it, but the part I was gonna talk about, when old girl was knocking on the door and the neighbor like helped her, whatever, to call the cops. What I thought was gonna happen was I thought she was one of the girls who was basically like getting tortured or whatever, but happened to make it out of it, and then she was gonna like tell that full story. And then when he came, I thought he was like in the hospital to finish the job, which was crazy. That's so crazy that it connected, because, bro, he had to go to the hospital. I mean, he couldn't like just sit home and let that just like heal up. It ain't gonna work that way. So the fact that you went to the hospital was like, damn, she just told us what happened. We know you here. You got the key. That was hella crazy. Look, all right, at this point, video over. You're gonna get up out of here if you want to, but I told you I was gonna tell you the story. P, hey, I'm sorry, bro. I feel like I was helping this person. I had to call the cops. You can come in here snitch this all you want, man. Shut up. P, look, I'm in the house. You know what's crazy? It's the same neighbor I mentioned to y'all before. I'm in Arizona. I mentioned him in my story times before. He was the same one who used to have these junkies prostitute over. Crazy. Video we just watched. Basically same type of girls over there. Dog, I kid you not. This dude used to beat the brakes off these girls, and they used to always come back. Look, one night, it's like a good hour going on. All I can hear it. In Arizona, the houses are hella close in Arizona. Houses are hella close, depending on where you at. I don't know. Whatever. So you can just hear it, and it sound like, I'm like, bro, he is beating the dog. It's all you hear is like, boom, boom. You can like legit hear stuff knocking, whatever, and her just, So look, I'm like, all right, at this point, I'm gonna call the cops, because if that's my sister or something, I was like, bro, I would want somebody to call the cops too. I don't want to just, and he was a big dude, whatever. But you could tell he was one of the people that's kind of out of there. He was cool too, but he was kind of out of there, bro. So I called the cops, bro. Tell me what the goofiest move. I don't even think this was. I don't think this is procedure. I think bro legit messed up, or he wanted to know. Bro, no, I called whatever. Cop come to my door. I'm like, what they knocking at my house for? They keep in mind we live right next door. These houses are close. Police knock at my door. I'm like, oh my god. I don't want to answer, but at the same time, I'm like, all right, let me answer, because what if they just leave after the door? So I whatever. I'm gonna talk something my bad. What if they just leave or whatever? So I open the door. You know what I'm saying? Talk to them a little bit. You know when you try to talk low to people, but you're like, fuck, what you doing? Like that kind of talk, whatever. So they like, yeah, you call. I'm like, yeah, but what for me? It was this over there. So I'm trying to hurry, like, kind of end the conversation, end it quick, whatever. He's still trying to talk. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, it's over there. So I get in there, close the door. Police out there for about a good hour. Don't know what's going on. I go to work the next day. Bruh, I kid you not. I come back. They not saying cops not still there, but it's a cop car is there. Hold up, my daughter's crying. I swear, letting kids take late naps is like the worst thing ever. My bad. Peep though, this is the part when I be telling y'all in those Mr. Nightmare videos we watching, when I be like how I'm surviving in this crowd. I kid you not, I be doing this ish, dog. So this is where it start to get all ish at. So as I hit the corner, coming on my driveway, whatever, boom, boom, boom. Cop is just pulling off. I'm like, fuck. So I pull into my driveway. I already know I had to do something, bro. I'm like, damn, he gonna know I did it. Keep in mind, bro. He a big dude. Hey, but he out of there a little bit. Cool sometimes, but he out of there. But I don't know him like that. Keep my distance from this dude. So I got in the car. You know, you already gotta start playing it off like, gotta get a nigga mode. Woo woo. So I got in the car rubbing my stomach. You ain't able to see my face, but I'm walking like these with her. I'm walking, you know what I'm saying? You know me be rubbing your stomach like this, you know what I'm saying? Shit. So I approach like that. I'm like, damn, bro, what's going on, dog? Man, who calling the boys, man? Them niggas popped up in my crib yesterday, dog. And he like, man, I don't know what's going on, man. They called. I thought you called. I'm like, nah, bro, I don't even know. You know me. Hey, I had to play it out. I'm like, you know me, boy. I ain't calling no police. Stop playing with me, boy. Bro, look. Bro, look, the whole time, I'm the one who called them niggas. But I kid you not, when I was watching this video, this is what made me think. I was like, yeah, you know what? That was a procedure. Them boys was not supposed to come to my house first. Hey, if I call, I think my age supposed to be anonymous. I don't know how it worked. Whatever, though. That was the only time I ever called them, dog. Don't start coming for me, dog. Cap, I called him again before because I thought my house got broken into one time because my attic, like, little thingy was open and I was tripping out. Cap. I think I called him another time before. Hey, but I ain't no rapper though, so I can do that. That's crazy when you're a rapper. Like you can't even like tell stories like this, and you be knowing it's reality, but you can't even like just talk how you want to talk. Like you can't say certain ish or you be considered sus. You can't joke like this. They be like you a snitch, whole career be canceled. That's crazy, dog. I don't know why I'm talking about that. That's hella crazy. I be thinking about this sometimes when I be listening to rap. I'm like, dog. I know. I be knowing you ain't this stuff all day. I know you be joking about ish, dog, but you can't do it behind the camera. That's crazy. I don't know. That's off topic. Hey, we out here. You know how I get. It's all ghetto ass channel. I'm out, dog. Bye.